Welcome to the White Sox REKAP Podcast. I am Ryan McGuffey. Oh, the big and the bad and the red-hot Detroit Tigers are coming. They're only 2.5 games back. What are the White Sox going to do? Sweep them. There's a response. How about that? Stop panicking, people. The best team in the American League Central in 2026 has been and is the Chicago White Sox. Enjoy the ride. I don't know how it's going to end, but over the weekend, the White Sox took matters into their own hands and had an impressive sweep, a bullpen game, a best starter not pitching with his A stuff. Let the offense pick you up. The bullpen picking you up on Saturday. Everyone had a hand in the White Sox sweep over the Tigers. And quite frankly, it's been synonymous with who this team has been all year, a different guy each and every night. Now it's on to the big bad Chicago Cubs, the Crosstown Classic in mid-August with both teams in playoff position. Dare I say we haven't seen this in almost 20 years. A true playoff test for the Chicago White Sox. But let's face it, folks, with 6 weeks left in the season, they've passed every single test and checkpoint thus far and sit in prime position in the American League Central with a 5.5+ game lead over the rest of the so-called teams that are chasing. Brian Anderson, my guy, is back in that saddle. Can't wait to have him on, get his thoughts about this and a lot more as the Chicago White Sox have their biggest lead in the American League Central to date on August 17th. It's the White Sox REKAP Podcast, and it starts right now.
Guff.
BA. Hey, buddy. Been a bit, and it's good to see you. And the Chicago White Sox still in first place. You know, we're in the almost, they're approaching 70 days in first place, and now have given themselves a nice little cushion after a very impressive 3-game sweep of the Detroit Tigers, my friend. As we record this, they have a 5.5 game lead on Detroit, a 6-game lead on Minnesota and Cleveland. Your thoughts?
First off, like, are White Sox fans right now almost like the ugly guy who gets the way too hot chick and to go to prom with him? Like, oh man, like, you have one job, just don't mess it up, enjoy it. She said yes. Like, yes, we weren't supposed to be that good this year. Yes, the White Sox are exceeding all expectations. Everyone's, including fans on the West Coast, East Coast, everyone's enjoying this ride except for a few White Sox fans. So I'll just say, guys, like, enjoy the prom date. You outkicked your coverage. She's way too hot for you. Just enjoy it. Take it. See how far you can go. See how far you can get down. See if you can round third base. Maybe hit a home run on prom night.
I'm saying marry her. What if you marry her? Marry her is the World Series. Sometimes you go all the way. I mean, forget rounding third. The White Sox are headed for home, to keep this analogy going, BA. They keep answering the bell. For whatever reason, this was funny to me. Prior to the Tiger series, and this touches on what we talked about last week with Hoodie, me and Hoodie saying, like, hey, the White Sox are in the driver's seat here. Stop panicking. And they're even more firmly entrenched in the driver's seat. This team has been this team since May. This is who we've seen. They've responded. They've answered the challenge. Guys have gone down. Guys have stepped up. Guys have struggled. Other players have stepped up. Pitchers haven't performed. Sean Burke answers the bell. Davis Martin's gone up and down lately. Hagen Smith comes up. Like, that's what's happening with this team. They are a good baseball team, folks. They are.
Hey, when they're too good, they got a horseshoe up their ass when Hagen Smith's getting 107 mile an hour off the bat rocket at his stomach and he catches it. Like, God, that's where White Sox fans need to go. You know what? This is a magical season. No matter what happens, let's just ride the wave. I mean, they're going into Wrigley today, like, where both teams are like awesome.
I know. So I want to get to that in a second because, like, this goes, like, I think MLB Network piled on a little bit last week, so it gave fans a little bit of panic. And and by the way, like, I'm not going to tell you how to fan ever. You can fan however you want. In the last 3 years, I get it, man. Like, it's been painful. It's been sad. It's been infuriating. It's been a mixture of everything. And so off the air, you were talking with me, like people don't know how to act because it's mid-August. They should be talking about Caleb Williams and the Bears, and we're talking about magic numbers and stuff in the American League Central. That's just where we are.
This is the time the White Sox fans usually check out. The stadium's starting to empty a bit. Brian Anderson's getting a suite every game if he wants because there's no one there, and everyone's going, oh, what? Wait, and man, in 2029 we're gonna be so sick. We're sick right now. We're awesome right now. So ride this wave. I mean, you're firing all cylinders. The podcast is hot. CHSN I keep fooling them. They keep booking me for gigs. So I have a horseshoe embedded right up my ass right now, so I'm riding the wave.
Yeah, I mean, and look, there's a lot of guys that we could sit there and point at and who's responsible for where they are right now. I mean, it's not just Munetaka Murakami, but it's been fun to watch him kind of come out in the second half after that injury and really carry the team yet again offensively. But this goes back to MLB Network last week. Also, like piling on, like which team in the AL Central would you not want to play? And across the board, they're holding their whiteboards. It says Tigers, Tigers, Tigers.
Is that even a question?
Mark DeRosa says they're going to win the division. I said immediately. I told Cap immediately. I went like this. If you're, I'm clapping, going as a coach, as a competitor. I'm going to clip that off, and I'm just going to play it on a loop in my clubhouse and go, look at this. We've been in first place for 60-something days. The Tigers haven't been in first place. They haven't even been 500.
And they don't even have their best pitcher anymore.
Best two pitchers. Casey Mize is gone too.
Troy Melton is their best guy.
He's been good, but
yeah, he has been good.
My point is the best when this. You've been on teams that have overachieved, and you've been on teams that are supposed to be really good and didn't hit. And when you get 15 games under 500 and you're the best team in the American League since June 1st, it's exhausting every single day where you have to be 7 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 5 in a row. You cannot get swept. The White Sox have put themselves in a position where that's kind of where I'm at, BA. Just don't get swept. Like the Sox lose 2 out of 3 to the Reds. Everyone, the sky's falling.
If they can scratch out at least one victory in every series from here on out, and I know that's a stretch. I mean, as they approach like the last month and a half of the season, if they can scratch out 2 of 3, 2 of 3, 1 of 3, 1 of 3, 1 of 3, you just can't get swept because you run the risk of a Cleveland, Minnesota, or Detroit sweeping, and that 5.5 games could go to 2.5 real quick.
I think the key is in those series, you're always trying to win 2 out of 3, but you look at the White Sox second half, you got the Cubs. We're taping this as the Cubs series starts. You got the makeup game against the Braves. So like this week, okay. Like if you can find a way to go 2-2, outstanding. I mean, if you can find a way to take 2 or 3 from that team up north, even better. But here, your home stand is the Mets, who've been terrible, and the Rangers, who are a playoff team, I guess.
The Rangers are weird, man. Like the Rangers are like the Tigers of the AL West. Like
they'll get to
on any given day, they're the best team in baseball, but then they disappear for a week. Speaking of, Guff, I got a call for you right now. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because I don't ever know when you're going to put a bow on it. But I'm telling you right now, I think in this crosstown, it's going to be a sweep one way or the other. I think it's going to be either one. I think the Sox are going to sweep or the Cubs are going to sweep. I don't think it's going to be a 2-1 type deal. I just think that's how it's going to be. It's going to, and whoever leaves this is going to have some serious Uncle Mo on their side.
I'm not going to say no to that because we've seen crazy things happen before. I'm not going to overreact if the Cubs sweep the White Sox. Look, at this point, Sox fans, I know it's a civil war. I get it. take like the Cubs say 2 out of 3, then you split with this and you move on. You come back, you start your homestand. I'm not opposed though. Like, isn't the pressure? This is where I'm kind of at with the White Sox and the statement they're making. There's no pressure on the White Sox. There's no pressure.
There's none.
There's no.
Do they look like they're tight? I mean, Miguel Vargas is out there taking gangster hacks, hitting jacks.
There is no pressure on this team. The pressure that's on this team is being put on them from outside. And you know what I've realized about this team? I asked guys last week in the club. They don't hear it. I don't believe in the, I don't read that. I'm not on social. Yes, they are.
You know what though, Guff? They like the social media aspect has changed, right? When I was there, when I sucked, there was 2 newspapers, 15 copies, and they're all sitting on that center island countertop, right? Where you're like, how do I not see my ugly face striking out? You know, like it. But I think. I can promise you this. Venable, Getz, those guys, even internally, have probably made a commitment to say, hey, guys, yes, we're going to be on social media. Chase Mydras going to post a video of him, you know, twerking with his sister or some weird shit. But, you know, I guarantee you they probably do a really good job of leaning on each other and focusing on the positive, because I can tell you this, those message boards came out when I was really struggling in 06. I was knee deep in those things, and it was the worst decision ever made, because you're listening to negativity over and over and over, and I've never dealt with that. So they are doing an exceptional job of that.
You look at the AL Central standings, okay? The White Sox now they're 7 games over 500. They're back at like their high season, their high water mark. They're at their high water mark of the division lead at 5.5 games. But I look at yes, I'm not going to poo-poo or say that the Detroit Tigers, Minnesota Twins, and Cleveland Guardians are done. I'm not going to go that far yet.
Oh, no.
But the Tigers are now 4 games under 500. The Twins and the Guardians are 5 games under 500. You have a 7-game difference in the loss column with the Twins and Guardians, and a 6-game difference with the Detroit Tigers. That's massive this time of year. It's massive, because what you've done now is you forced teams like those 3 teams who now have to play the Pirates, the Braves, and then you have the Guardians facing the lowly Giants. These teams are
sleep on the Giants, man.
Well, they're in. But my point is, they're all 3 in must mode. Like they're 6-4 is not going to cut it over a 10-game stretch.
They have to rip some 7-3s. They got to rip some 7-3s. They got to sweep and go 2 for 3.
They have to go 7-3, and like the White Sox can still go 5-5 and be just fine, because the Twins have 6 games coming up against the White Sox. The Tigers have 4 more late in September with the White Sox. Of course, the Guardians are in there. But my point is the positioning the White Sox have made. My goal and expectations have changed for this team completely. Like, I'm willing to go there. They're going to soar past the 73 wins that I predicted them to happily. But at this point, I'm all about that 2 seed. The American League West sucks. They're somebody that might win that division at 82-80.
Except for the Angels.
But like the fact that the Texas Rangers are 3 games under and are a half game out of a wild card. I mean, the Tigers are a game out of a wild card. The Twins and Guardians are a game and a half out of a wild card.
Well, this is the weakest, I think. Yeah, this is the weakest, the AL Central. Not weak. I say this is the most competitive, because those 3 other teams are pretty average. I mean, they're just beating up on each other.
A lot of average.
Inconsistent, but the White Sox are playing well. And so when you're playing well and everyone else is beating up on each other, hey, Guff, I don't know. I remember David Risky told me back in the day, if you have like a 5 or 6 game lead going down to the last 30 games of the season, you're pretty safe. And I don't ever want the White Sox to sit there and go, oh, we're good, we're safe. That means you can go 15-15, and the other team's got to go 21-9. So that, like, do the math. I mean, that's how tough it is down the stretch if you have a 5 or 6 game lead.
There's no complacency with this group, though, to your point.
No.
There's just not. There's not complacency. Their ability, and I've said it ad nauseum, to turn the page from day to day is unlike any team I've seen in recent memory, 20 years. Like, you'd have to go back to 2008, 2006.
That 2008 team we had was freaking stacked, and we underachieved, man. We got smoked by Tampa.
Yeah, you guys, you know what
we
you
were
did?
good.
You forced your hand to win every game down the stretch. You did, but you put yourself in that position. And that's
06, yeah, too.
I mean, the fact that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the American League are within a game and a half of the final wild card spot. As we tape this, the Orioles are currently in the final wild card spot. The Orioles at 61-63. The Baltimore Orioles. The Toronto Blue Jays, who did sell, the Toronto Blue Jays are a game out of the postseason right now. Like, they might get in. The White Sox are firmly entrenched in a postseason spot right now. Keep doing what you've been doing. The 2 seed is there. I've been saying it all year. This team can make the ALCS. It was my.
You got to get a bye. That'd be great.
It was my bold prediction. My bold prediction at the trade deadline that when you and I did it, we had one bold prediction each. Mine was that the White Sox are making the ALCS. It's August 17th. I'm standing by it. I'm standing by it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey, the White Sox get into the playoffs. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why they can't go to the World Series, because who's their biggest roadblock? I mean, it's the Braves, it's the Braves and the World Series and the Dodgers, right? Or
let me ask you this. I'm gonna interrupt. Let's talk about the American League. Tampa scare you?
No.
They went down to Tampa. I'm just asking, like,
those guys scare me more than anybody else.
Okay, but you went down to Tampa and won 2 out of 3 recently.
Yes.
Even like, I'd say the only team that scares me is a team that's coming back to earth a little bit. The Red Sox have been the one team that have owned the White Sox all year. They've like kicked their ass. They're 6-0. I mean, the Yankees fully healthy, Aaron Judge and that entire pitching staff, that's nasty. My point is, though, if someone told you right now, BA, the White Sox are in 6 weeks, the White Sox are going to have a postseason run. They're going to make the World Series. They may not win it. It might be Dodgers. They're going to make it. I think they can get
reason why they're not going.
But you can't put an argument together where someone's like, well, tell me why they're not going to the World Series. They haven't lost more than 4 in a row this year. They haven't won more than 5. They do weird things. They have an untraditional bullpen. They have guys that can go multiple innings. Sean Newcomb the other day.
Newcomb's off the freaking charts, man.
Jordan Hicks. No one's going to talk about Saturday. The MVP to me of Saturday's game was Jordan Hicks going an inning and 2/3, not allowing.
He only scares me because at any given point he could throw one in the other batter's box with guys on base.
So can any one of these guys in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And there's going to be more experimentation coming up. I think Shane Smith's going to come up and make a start. I wouldn't be surprised to see Drew Romo come up and Drew Thorpe come up and make a start. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw even maybe a Jonathan Cannon in the bullpen. That's
you got Shane Smith coming up, huh?
I think Shane Smith comes up and makes a start. I do.
I hope he does.
Starts. And here's what you're going to see with the White Sox. Like, Hagen Smith looked good in that role. Tanner McDougal back in AAA. Like, one guy's going to hit, one guy's not. And they're going to have the flexibility because they've built themselves a 5.5 game cushion to mix and match down the stretch to get them to the postseason. And that's where they need to do. They need to get to the postseason. Luis Castillo has looked fantastic thus far. We'll see it in the Crosstown Series.
Fresh haircut.
Anthony Kay might be the most unheralded, unmentioned guy down the stretch for the White Sox.
Chuck and I talked about him, man. The White Sox have one thing going for them. Those lefties out of the pen, man, Hudson, Kay, Starter, and Newcomb, they throw nothing straight. Like, one thing I always loved as a hitter, throw as hard as you want, throw your breaking ball for a strike all you want. If you're in the zone, I got you. If you start throwing 96-mile-an-hour balls and sometimes you yank them in on the hands to a righty, and sometimes it sinks down and away, and it's kind of just that effectively wildness, those guys are so hard to hit.
All right, so they play the Chicago Cubs, right? So we're taping this on the Monday prior to Game 1. It's the biggest Crosstown Classic series since 2008. I looked it up. This is the latest the two teams have been in postseason position since 2008, when the only time they ever both won the division in the same year. The Cubs, when you look at August 15th of 2008, were 75-47 in first place in the NL Central, 5.5 games up. The White Sox, you guys, were 68-54, a half game behind Minnesota, but in today's format would have easily been a wild card team, and obviously went on in the blackout game. Both teams ultimately won their divisions, made the 2008 postseason. It was the first time both qualified in the same year since 1906. First time ever. They both made the postseason in 2020. I'm not really counting the pandemic year because they had the extra wild card team. No one really got to see it. So really, they've done it one time. You were a member of that team. You, in my opinion, played in the best era of Crosstown Classics that we've ever seen in this series, going back to 06, the infamous AJ Barrett brawl that, of course, you were suspended for, that we've talked about. You go to 2008, when this town is ringing and humming with two really good baseball teams, and you're walking into Wrigley Field in August, and this buzz is happening. What's it like?
Guff, so the cool things about playing, especially at Wrigley, is it's electric. Even from the time you start stretching to the time you get out in the outfield and start, for batting practice. I mean, the fans are throwing shit. They're yelling at you. It's getting out of control. I mean, you kind of buddy together. Pasednik and Jermaine and I would just hang out in the outfield, and it was just electric at all times. Then the game starts. Every at bat, they're wearing you out. And again, like, both teams are really good. That team we faced in 08, man, was stacked with the Cubs. And we were stacked. I mean, we had Ken Griffey Jr. and I platooning in center field. It was nuts. So I could just tell you, man, this is the closest to a World Series environment and a playoff environment that the White Sox will get, especially playing at Wrigley. So they should take advantage of that and really kind of see. This will be a good test for Getz, Venable, to kind of see who can we put in like really, really big pressure cooker situations.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, the benefit of playing, because the difference about your teams that you played in Wrigley were veteran-laden teams. I mean, you guys had won the World Series in 05 and then tried to keep piling on to continue to, get to the playoffs and get back to the World Series. So a lot of vets who have been there, done that. What is the benefit of a young team getting this type of atmosphere this late in the season? Because it's a coin flip when these games are going to be played. I mean, you have to go back 3 months to when the White Sox beat the Cubs 2 out of 3. And quite frankly, at that time, we were still like, maybe this team can be good. We didn't know. And now we know who the White Sox are. And the fact that this series is later in the year, it can be a nice benefit for the White Sox. Why?
This is huge because all the young guys, especially ones that have never been to the playoffs, which is everyone on this team, Murakami's probably the most battle tested because in Japan, all those games, especially the Yakult Swallows versus any of those teams in the division, the rivals are very, very competitive and very loud and chaotic. So I think this is going to be an excellent time for the White Sox young guys to say, who can we lean on? Especially it's going to be the pitchers too. Who can we bring in bases loaded, one out? And we're only up one or tie ball game in the 8th or 9th. So this is going to be an awesome, awesome opportunity for some of these young guys and especially the young pitching staff to come in and go, whose ass is going to pucker up and who's going to have ice water in their veins.
I kind of like that naturally it falls that Luis Castillo is the opener. Doesn't it feel like, talking about a playoff series, you're going to give it to the guy who has been there, done that. As recently as last year in the ALCS, you're giving it to a guy in a crazy environment with you're coming off a sweep, you're hot, you got your chest out a little bit, and you're going to be walking into into your own city's backyard with a bunch of teams all over your ass. The fans are going to be all over each other. And you're going to have Luis Castillo making that start after he went 7 innings of 1 hit and 10 Ks. I think that matters.
Oh, it's huge. He ain't worried about it. I'll tell you what, that Pete Crow Armstrong and Castillo matchup's going to be freaking awesome to watch. And watch out for guys like, the Dansby Swansons of the world, may have not had the greatest year to start. But for the White Sox to win this, the Antonaccis and the Chase Maedroffs are going to have to be huge. They're not just going to lay it in there for Murakami with guys on base. They're going to go after Colson with high heat late, off-speed pitches down in the zone. But I think Vargas, Murakami, they're not just going to lay it in there to him. So, the Drew Romos and the Edgar Caro and Chase Maedroff and Sam Antonacci, they got to be big for the White Sox this series.
This feels like Antonacci is supposed to be one of those guys that's a crosstown story.
They hate him. The Cubs will hate Antonacci after this series.
You want to talk about a guy the left field bleachers is going to try to wear out? It's going to be Sam Antonacci. The difference is, yes, he's young. I think he's built for it. I think he understands like the pot stirring thing. Like people are like, "Oh, we better not do the elbow here." Dude, he's a weirdo. He threw an elbow at
He's
Wilson
a weirdo, dude.
Contreras, like the craziest of crazy in Boston. So you think he's worried about, flipping a switch of somebody in left field? It should be an absolute blast to watch. But BA, before we let you go here, just you think it's going to be a sweep one way or the other? I'm not going to predict what happens. I'm just going to let it play out. Like I'm going to say 2 out of 3 one way or the other. Obviously, we're pulling for the White Sox, but give me what has impressed you most about the Chicago White Sox on April 17th or on August 17th with a 5.5 game lead in the AL Central. What's the biggest thing that stood out to you?
the thing that stands out to me the most is every time we have a show, every time I'm on TV, we're talking about the core group of guys, but we're talking about someone new who's made a huge impact. Antonacci, Chase Mydross in for power. Sean Newcomb carries us. Luis Castillo comes over. They've called up 16 guys this year have made their major league debuts. Is it, hey, next guy up, next guy up.
Next guy up is scary for other teams because you want to think you know everything about everyone, and it's hard to prepare for the Chicago White Sox. No. You're up 4-0 on a Sunday, and you got to their best starter, and you're feeling pretty good. Like, okay, we'll steal one here and get right. And then what happens? The White Sox are just relentless. You know, Romo hits a flipping home run to put you back in the game.
That's all he does.
and here you go. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm here to say, I'm not going to tell you, I'll repeat it one more time. Not going to tell you how to fan. Not going to tell you how to fan. But my timelines looked a lot different the last 72 hours. And I'm saying, just either enjoy it. I kept quiet the entire game on Sunday on purpose. And then as soon as that last out was made, boom.
That was tough for you to do, I know.
It is. It's tough for me to stay quiet. But my point is, stop waiting for the sky to fall. Okay?
Yep.
Stop waiting for the sky to fall. If you can't handle it, take a deep breath, find a way to meditate, be built for 162 because this Chicago White Sox team, BA, they are.
Yep, no doubt. Could be a Vinny. God, I think he's not around anymore, so God rest his soul. But could be a Vinny Testaverde's dad. Like, he couldn't watch a game. He's like, he's gonna get hurt. He can't. He's gonna throw an interception. It's just too much, man.
Not a way to live life, man. Especially when you've had 350 losses the last 3 years. BA, good to have you back, my friend. Can't wait to watch this Cubs and Sox series. 2 night games at Wrigley, a day game on Wednesday. Last time I was at Wrigley when the series mattered, one of my favorite memories ever was on Waveland Avenue after the game, watching a guy in a Kerry Wood jersey fight a guy in a Mark Pryor jersey. That was an all-timer. For Brian Anderson, Ryan McGuffey, this is the White Sox Recap Podcast. If you don't already subscribe to the recap, come on, get on board, man. 250,000 people are doing it. You should too. Click the notification bell every time we drop a podcast. You get the notification that we're here for you. And as we come down the stretch, expect the intensity and the amount of podcasts to get crazy because we're going to do one live at Cork and Kerry down the stretch. We're going to have multiple pods a week. BA, Hoodie, myself. Can't wait. And if the Sox team makes the playoffs, folks, we'll be live with you the rest of the way. Thanks for watching this edition of the White Sox Recap Podcast on YouTube. And if you're listening audio only, we appreciate you wherever you listen to podcasts. For BA, I'm Guff. We'll see you next time on the White Sox Recap Podcast.